All right, let's just jump right into one of the biggest questions ever. What does it actually mean for something to exist? I mean, really exist. This is one of those questions that sits right at the intersection of, deep philosophy, hard science, and just our everyday experience. So let's get into it. Okay, let's make this super personal right now. How do you know that the screen you're looking at is real? Seriously, your first instinct is probably to say, well, duh, I can see it. But what does that even mean, to see something? It sounds like a simple question, right? But stick with me, because unpacking that one little thing, well, it changes how you see everything. So here's the core idea for today. It's actually pretty simple when you boil it down. Our brain only knows something is there because it's different from what's around it. It's all about contrast. Think about it. An object, a sound, even a feeling. We only notice it because it stands out from the background noise. It's the difference that makes all the difference. And this visual makes it so clear. Look over on the left. It's just a blank, uniform space, right? There's nothing to see because there's no difference to see. It's just a single, unbroken state. But then, boom, look at the right. The second we add just one thing that's different, your brain instantly locks onto it. It exists to you because it breaks the pattern. That little moment of contrast, that's the spark. That's perception kicking in. And this applies to everything, not just sight, You don't register being touched unless you actually feel that pressure against your skin. You don't hear a sound unless those vibrations actually hit your eardrum and cause a change. So let's take that to the extreme. If nothing from the outside world impacted you at all, what would you perceive? Absolutely nothing. Your reality would just be a blank. Okay, so this brings us to two really profound definitions of existence, based on what we've just talked about. First, you could say existence is whatever limits our perception, whatever creates a boundary that we can detect. And second, you could say existence is whatever changes our consciousness. These two ideas, they're going to be our guide for the rest of this. They're the key. Now, you might think this is some kind of new age, modern scientific idea, but what's amazing is it's not at all. We're about to look at a parable from a text that's about 1,400 years old. And what's wild is that it describes this exact same process of perception with just stunning accuracy. This comes from the Quran, from the second chapter, Al-Baqarah. It paints this really clear picture. It says, "Their example is that of one who kindled a fire, but when it illuminated what was around him, Allah took away their light and left them in darkness, so they could not see." It's a simple story, right? A fire, light, and then darkness. But hidden inside it is this incredibly sophisticated breakdown of how we perceive anything at all. So let's really walk through this step by step. Okay, step one, you have the fire. That's the object, the thing that exists. Step two, the light. This is the crucial part. The light is the effect of the fire. It's what changes our state from darkness to seeing. Step three, the light is removed. So that change in our state, it stops, and the result? Step four, blindness. We can no longer perceive the fire. And here's the mind-blowing part. The parable doesn't say the fire went out. The fire might still be there. But because its effect on us is gone, our perception of it is gone too. Okay, hold on, because this is where things get really cool. We're going to fast forward about 1,400 years from an ancient scripture straight to a modern physics lab. We're going to ask scientists, how do we see? And the answer they give is going to sound unbelievably familiar. I mean, look at this. It's literally two sides of the same coin. The parable's fire, that's just what physics calls a photon source. The light from the fire hitting the person, that's the physical event of photons streaming out and altering the cells in our retina. When the light is taken away, that just means the photons stop arriving. And the conclusion? It's exactly the same. No change to our senses means no perception. It's just, wow. An ancient parable and modern physics describing the exact same reality using different languages. So what's the big takeaway from the science? It's this, and it perfectly matches the wisdom from that parable. We don't actually see objects. We never do. What we call seeing a fire is really our brain processing a constant stream of photons that the fire is shooting out. We're detecting the change those photons cause in our eyes, not the thing itself. And okay, this is a huge point. This isn't just a weird quirk about vision. Nope. This is the fundamental rule for all of our senses. It's how we build our entire picture of reality. So let's zoom out a bit. Think about it. For sight, we detect changes caused by photons. For sound, we're just detecting changes in air vibration hitting our eardrums. For touch, it's just detecting changes in pressure on our skin. See the pattern? In every single case, we aren't perceiving the thing, we're perceiving the effect that thing has on us. So what does this all mean? It leads to this one massive conclusion. Our reality, the whole shebang, everything you see, hear, and feel, is simply the sum of all the changes the world makes to your consciousness. That's it. Reality for us isn't a static thing we look at. It's a constant interaction. So I'll leave you with this one final thought to chew on. If existence, for us, is defined by what we perceive, what's real when nothing is looking? If a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, we've kind of answered that, right? The vibrations are there, but the sound isn't. So what about the universe itself? What is it when no consciousness is there to perceive it? Something to think about. Hello and welcome. Let's dive right into a question that kind of underpins, well, everything. What does it even mean for something to be real? Today, we're going to flip the script on that idea and suggest that reality isn't about what's out there, but what happens right here in your mind. So, let's start with a big thought experiment. What if real isn't some solid, objective quality that things just have? What if instead something is real simply because it's able to make an impression on your consciousness? Okay, so let's try on a new definition for a minute. Let's say existence is anything that can change or even just limit our awareness. If something can affect you, make you notice it, or create a sort of boundary that you can't see past, then you register it as existing. It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything. Now, check this out. This verse is laying out a principle that's surprisingly scientific. It's saying that we don't actually perceive the fire itself. We perceive the light that comes from the fire. And if you think about it, that's literally true, right? We don't see the fire. Our eyes detect the photons it's shooting out, and those photons change the cells in our retina. So when that light is gone, our perception of the fire is gone too, even if the fire itself is still burning away. We never experience the source, only its effect on us. To really get a feel for this, let's build a little something I call a ladder of perception. We'll start with things that are barely there and work our way up to what feels most solid. So at the very bottom rung, you've got a thought. It feels real to you, for sure, because it's changing your consciousness. But it's only in your mind. Take a step up, and you have a voice on the phone. Now you can hear it. A sense is involved, so it feels a little more real. Then, at the very top, you have a physical stone. You can see it, you can feel its weight, you can hear it clatter on the floor. Because it's impacting your consciousness through multiple senses, it feels like the most real thing of all. And you know what's wild? This same rule applies even when you're asleep. A rock in a dream feels 100% real while you're dreaming, because in that moment, it's totally altering your dream consciousness. A physical rock in your hand just feels more real, because it's hitting you on more channels, sight, touch, etc. The underlying principle is exactly the same. The more it impacts our awareness, the more real it feels. So the more senses you engage, the more real something feels. Seems pretty simple. But wait a minute. Is that the whole picture? Or are we actually limiting our definition of reality by relying only on these physical senses? This is where things get really interesting. See, there are basically two ways to know something. There's the indirect path, which is what we've been talking about, using our senses and our brains to look at the signs around us and figure things out. But then there's a direct path. This is knowledge that just skips the senses completely and gets imprinted right onto our consciousness. This verse is a perfect description of that indirect path. It says, the earth is full of signs. We see these signs, the stars, the complexity of a cell, you name it, through our senses. And then we use our minds to follow those clues toward a deeper truth. It's knowledge we gain by observing and thinking. Now compare that to the direct path. This verse talks about inspiration. The mother of Moses didn't see some signs and logically deduce what to do. The knowledge of what she needed to do just appeared. It was imprinted on her consciousness, altering it without any input from her eyes or ears. And here's another huge example of that direct path. Adam was taught the names, which is like a kind of fundamental knowledge about the nature of things. This wasn't a classroom lecture. It was a direct download of information straight into his awareness. So this brings up a really important question. If you can get knowledge both ways, why is it that this direct, inspired knowledge feels so much more certain, so much more profound than anything we could learn from a book or an experiment? Well, the direct path feels more certain because there are no middlemen. Our senses can be fooled, right? Our logic can have holes in it. But when knowledge gets imprinted directly onto the mirror of our consciousness, there are no filters. There's nothing to distort it or cause any ambiguity. It's just pure knowing. Okay, this leads us to the biggest, most critical question of all. If what we call real is defined by what we perceive, does that mean reality is just subjective? That your reality is totally different from mine and there's no objective truth? The answer to that is a hard, emphatic no. And this is probably the single most important point we need to get straight. Here is the crucial distinction we have to make. It is not reality that is fragmented or has different levels. Reality itself is absolute. It's whole. It's our perception, our limited human ability to even grasp that reality. That comes in degrees. So really, we shouldn't be talking about degrees of reality. We should be talking about degrees of perception. Think of it like this. Absolute reality is an image in infinite resolution. Our human hardware, our senses, our intellect, can only process a low-resolution version of it. We are the ones reducing reality down to a size we can handle, not the other way around. And that brings us right back to where we started. We never actually perceive the fire, do we? We only perceive its light changing our eyes. We never experience a thing in its total, absolute existence. We only ever perceive the limited ways it manages to change us. Which leaves us with one final, kind of awe-inspiring question. If our perception is just this tiny, limited window looking out at a vast, absolute reality, what's out there? What lies just beyond what our human hardware is even capable of detecting?